Hi everyone, this is Norman Kochnek here. I'm here with Chris Vernon. Jabashis Sen is also coming. He's actually in India, as we all know. He's covering Extra Time and a few other platforms, and he is going to be with us very, very shortly. He just contacted me. Mervyn Richards sends his apologies, but we're going to have some fun with Mervyn Richards over the next few weeks. I tell you now, he and his gaggle of West Indian counterparts that are there are going to join us for various reasons, including we'll talk about West Indian cricket as well, which I think is very important. Chris and I had the fortune of having Monty Panesar last night, Priti Panesani here and there last night, and that was a great session. If you've missed it, you can go back and look at our videos. It was quite a comprehensive discussion about the day's play and the state of cricket at the moment. Obviously, Aussies and England, we've got Terence Aldrin. Maybe is that a mate of yours, Chris? Aussies and England people love the game of cricket. It's only a few who are in social media cry on pitch and umpiring in India. So, look, in all fairness, I'm going to be very strong about my thoughts about that. I'll get your opinion, Chris. The whole pitch saga is getting a bit of a run at the moment in the media. I come back time and time again to the fact that we're using a ground for the second time within 3 days. In Australia, we wouldn't have a bar of that. We would not do that. So, because we would probably have a substandard pitch, no matter how well versed we were in getting it ready. So that's what I'm suggesting is being a very, very interesting point. We've been joined by Debashis. How are you, Debashis?
I'm fine, Norman. Hi, Chris.
Morning, Debashis. Good to see you.
Morning, yeah.
We're already live. We've already started, so you're straight into the live format. And Debashis, you look refreshed, like you've been on a holiday or something.
Yeah. I was on a holiday with my family to Chennai, so I experienced a little bit of live match, and I'm back yesterday night. So it's been for the first time that I could manage to take my family on an excursion, which was not the case. As you know, it's very well known that due to when my mother was alive, my wife has to stay at home. So it was good thing. Means I was totally aloof from cricket. I was not into cricket because that is the reason that I refused to join the live interaction, because I don't want to be involved in any sort of cricket activities.
You didn't refuse, you politely opted out, is the way I would put it. That's right. But we had a gangbuster session last night, Debashis. You missed it. We had Monty Panesar on, Chris in fine form, Priti Upala getting stuck into us all, and even Priti let a naughty word go. I was a bit shocked. But also Apana was there. It's a great session. We even had Mervyn Richards the previous day as well. So the reality is this test match, you're smiling from ear to ear, whereas Chris is in this gloomy darkness there. Even though
it's 3:30, Norman. I don't like waking up at 3:30 and having to look at your smiling face. You know, it's not my idea of a perfect wake up call. So,
oh, gee, that's disappointing. It's very disappointing,
especially with an LA Dodgers hat on.
Oh well, I went to see them play 2 years ago. All right, now the reality is India are some 249 in front. Excuse me, and they certainly deserve to be there. Rohit Sharma's on some 25, and with Pujara on 7, I think he is 1 for 54. I think the score is. The reality is they look very happy as they walked off the field, and I think that the situation's obviously in India's favour. And I was talking to Bashis just when you got on air about the pitch, and I was making it very clear. I don't believe you can get a pitch ready in 3 days anyway. So Chennai was struggling to get a pitch together, and if it's not good enough, it's not their fault alone. The reality is it's somewhat of a backing it to nothing to try and get a pitch ready that soon. Can you imagine Debashis us getting the SCG ready in 3 days? No way. We wouldn't be able to do it.
No way. But they knew it that there will be 2 test matches played on 2 different strips. It's not about getting the pitch ready in 3 days, but the Tamil Nadu Cricket Association, they knew it that there will be 2 test matches slated to be played in 2 strips.
I think the point is, and I touched on it last night, is India have clearly taken a view on what type of pitch to play, and no one is expecting it to be a flat Sydney style wicket. But I think my point is is that the pitch, they could have produced a better wicket if they wanted to. There's no doubt if they wanted to, that wicket could be better. And that's all the point is. And it's a home advantage. And I don't think anyone's begrudging that, but at some point you've got to, I think that India were brave, and that if they'd lost the toss, then the result of the match could be a lot different. But, going to be results orientated, Kohli won the toss. Brilliant. Happy days, 1-1. We move on to the next, and hopefully it can be another good test match.
Yeah, I would like to add nothing. You cannot complain about the wickets. Obviously, see, if you produce a green top on a Trent Bridge at Trent Bridge, so you cannot complain about it, because every team, they take their home advantage. So is the case with India. Chris has pointed out correctly that you win the toss, you put up a big total, and half of the match is won. That is what the case is. First match, Joe Root won the toss. This time it was Kohli's turn. So you cannot complain with the home team taking the advantage of producing the wicket that suits themselves.
Correct.
All I would say to answer that, and I agree with you completely. I'm not, and there's a few comments saying that the Poms are whining, and I don't think it's the case. All I would say is that if you look over the last 8 years at test matches in England or in India, a lot of the time the pitches in England are dictated by the overhead conditions, like if it swings. You could turn up on a green top at Trent Bridge and the sun's out and it's hot and it's still pretty flat. And if you look at the results and how many test matches overseas teams have won, Pakistan came here and got a draw. India have won test matches. West Indies have won test matches. Australia have drawn series, whereas India haven't lost a test in 7 years at home. So I think that to say that to produce wickets that suit purely, I think that it's wrong. I think it actually it can produce a fairer contest between both sides in that respect, just purely if you look at the numbers and from results played. But I don't disagree with you. I think that India are playing to their strengths, and rightly so.
And if you are to be regarded as the top teams in the world, then you have to win abroad. You just continue winning abroad. Which was the case with the West Indies team of the 70s, and the Australian team under Steve Waugh, and to some extent Ricky Ponting. So obviously, if you are to be regarded as the top teams in the world, then you need to win abroad. Means apart from winning at home, obviously it is understood that you would have the advantage, the home advantage, and you would be winning matches. Just as the case with India is, they have not lost a test series up since for the last 7 years. But then the thing is that you need to keep winning abroad if you are to be regarded as the top teams in the world.
So the question is then, as an Indian fan, take out the Australia series just now. When was the last time that India won a test match series in Australia? They obviously beat Australia down under, but
2018. They won back-to-back series in Australia. Absolutely. 2018, and then they followed it up with another test series win in Australia.
Australia have, the so-called fear factor of Australia is gone. Now, Robert Crash Craddock, one of the best reporters in Australia, made that comment very clear from 18, and that fear factor's gone, and the likes of Punt, Kohli, and quite frankly the rest of the team no longer fear Australia. And I dare say that when England come at them, they're not going to fear Australia either. It's quite concerning. I think Australian cricket, to be really honest with you, is going to hit a bit of a wall. I really do. I don't think we're going to be winning too many series in the near future, despite Smith and Labuschagne and those guys being reasonable batters. There's something not right with our makeup from captaincy right through. There's something not right, and there's not a lot coming through to replace it. I saw that Curtis Patterson is batting really well in the state level. If he doesn't go straight back in, they're mad, because he batted really well beforehand, and he is an incredibly stylish batter and should be thrown straight back in the Australian mix immediately for the Ashes series. If he's in any sort of physical shape to do that, then he should. All right. On this match, now 1 for 54, 249 in front. You would imagine that India would be looking at a 450 total probably by tea, and could easily declare at that stage. Although I think it was Monty Panesar last night, and Tabasha, you missed it. Monty Panesar makes a lot of sense. He really does. England need to get him in their unit. I think he's understanding of the art of left arm orthodox spin, and what he could teach Leach about using the actual wicket from left to right of the actual crease, not just from one standard position. It was amazing. Leach could be an infinitely better bowler.
I was a little bemused to hear Monty Panesar a few days back commenting that he reckoned that Kohli will resign from captaincy if he goes on to lose this test match. Where does he arrive such a comment from? I don't know. Did you ask him? What transpired him to make such a comment?
I think it's a bit of sensationalism about that. It grabs the headline. I think
it's always good to be controversial, isn't it? Sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone was suggesting even that, Virat Kohli would ever be retired. I think I touched on last night, Dabas, so I think this is quite a big day for Kohli, not because he's under any pressure for his job in that respect, but he hasn't really done much in the series. I know he got 60 odd in the first test, but that was in a bad losing cause. So I think that he'll be quite keen to maybe come out, and if he can get a 50 or 60 and be not out when India declare, then I think that'll give him some confidence, because his scores have been a little bit lower than he would be expecting them to be. So I think he'll be seeing this as a good chance to try and sort of stamp his authority on the series a little bit today.
A thing about Kohli is that he always keeps the team's concern in first, rather than his personal milestones. So if India goes on to win the test match and levels the series, he will take it with both hands, rather than him not scoring much. But obviously, as we have rightly pointed out, that it is time. He is due for a big score in the series, which I'm confident, I'm sure that he will. But the fact is that he has always put the team in front of the personal milestones.
So your T-shirt, Dabasha, says "Live fast, race faster." Can you explain what's going on there? Are you trying to make a statement, or?
No, I'm not making a statement.
I have to read into T-shirt. I have to read into what's being said on a T-shirt, because it's going out to such a big audience. There may be some subliminal message that you're sending, Dabasha. I'm never sure.
This is New India.
I digress. But could I actually bring up a little personal point? I was sent a photo today. In fact, it's not the only one I've been sent. Someone in Sydney's taken a photo of me doing my broadcast with my tripod, with me standing with people around me, and sent it to someone else, who then I know someone who sent it to me in my WhatsApp. It's the most intriguing. I'd love to know who took that photograph, because they didn't say hello to me. They just simply took the photo, and through a connection of friends, it's gone back to me. So anyway, I digress.
I had a question. There's a question from Bobby Thomas. He watches a lot of Bobby Thomas. He often comments. And he said, Chris, if you want to claim to be the best test team, you've got to be India and whatever they prepare at home. As long as it's not harmful to health, they should play. Toss played more of a role in the first test. I agree, Bobby, but in that respect, then India have been the best test team in the world for the last 20 years. England are the only side to win a series in India, and have only side to win a test in India since 2013. So on that reckoning, does that mean India are the best test team in the world and have been for 10 years? Would that be fair?
I think that's a stretch of a comment on any team, really.
But what I'm saying is no one has come close to winning a game in India, let alone a series. So it's I guess the point is, from when you talk about what India's strength are at the moment, is their seam department. When they've obviously had a couple of good series wins in South Africa, but they've not won in England for a long time. They've sort of good series in Australia. I don't know when the last time they would have won in New Zealand or South Africa was. So do you think, Dabassis, that if the first class game or if test match wickets in India were slightly more seam, if it had more seam quality in it, that you would find it easier to compete abroad as well? Would that be a fair?
Yeah. Absolutely, that is what the case is in domestic cricket. You see a lot livelier wickets. That's the reason you see so many fast bowlers coming up. You take the instance of Navdeep Saini or a Mohammad Siraj. So these are all the fast bowlers that are coming up. So we have a good bench strength now. And with the absence of Mohammad Sami, it's hardly going to matter, because we have the bench strength now who can easily get into the mold. So that's the biggest positive that India has achieved in last few years. and
I think it's
having
just-
lively wickets for the first class cricket, Ranji Trophy. So matches these days are played lot more even contests between bat and ball, and that's what makes the game more contesting.
Yeah, I think it's just a shame when you look at it that from a cricket point of view, forget who I support, or the Indian fans must be disappointed that, and it's probably going to happen a lot with wickets like this, is that someone like Jasprit Bumrah, who's one of the best at the moment in the world, is probably not going to play a lot of Test cricket, or he's going to miss quite a few Test matches in India because they're going to be rotating because the pitches don't suit his style of bowling. And I think it's just a shame from a cricket point of view that he's going to miss probably a third or a quarter of the games in India just because they don't think he's going to be of use in those conditions. And that's just a shame from a cricket point of view. You want to see those guys playing as much as you can.
It is intriguing.
Absolutely. I agree with Chris. Obviously, it's a shame not to have Jasprit Bumrah, who is the top bowler in the world right now, not to feature. But then I would say that it has also got to do with something to do with the SG Test balls, because Jasprit Bumrah did mention in the press conference and during the first test. I believe it was the first test, after the first day's play, he did mention that SG. He did complain about SG balls. Ravichandran Ashwin also complained about the SG Test balls, which was not the case with the Dukes or the Kookaburra. So that has got something to do with the balls as well, apart from the wickets.
Well, the balls were very soft. There's no doubt about it. They were hard to grip. Plus, they can't shine the ball the way they would like to, having done in the past, which affects everybody. Hence, the ball has been substandard. I still don't understand why we haven't got one ball or one controlled ball throughout the whole set of series around the world. I understand some countries have differences. I appreciate that. But wouldn't it be easier if they all had the same ball? Wouldn't that make...
I won't agree. I would rather want to have different balls for different countries. That is the charisma of Test cricket. Means that is
it's
what
like
you want.
Producing your own wicket at home.
You go to India, you play on turning tracks with SG balls. You go to Australia, playing on bouncy track on Wacker or in Perth or in Brisbane with Kookaburra. You go to England, play on the swimming tracks with the Duke balls, which does a bit. So these are the challenges that make Test cricket lot more fun watching.
Okay,
so
I've asked that question for a reason. I'm very clever, you see. I asked that for a reason. I think the same as you guys. I wanted to see a reaction. So why are we complaining about the pitches? That's exactly the same as the ball. SG ball, Kookaburra, Duke, turning track.
It's not the same. I don't think you can say it's the same. I think that it's a different variable. I think that India are trying to go, the new ball that they've produced here, the SG ball, I think they're trying to go towards the Duke's ball. I think that even if you ask the Australians, I think it's a general consensus that the best overall ball is the Duke's ball. I think that's a fair thing to say. I think the Kookaburra is brighter, no seam. I think that if you asked most teams in the world what's their favourite ball to bowl with, they'd all say the Duke, I think. So I think that's the way that India...
We're actually using the Duke ball in our Sheffield Shield competition, our state level competition, which has been rejuvenated yet again because we're not travelling. And I just want to bring up a point on that very fact. I would like to see a mandatory component about cricket where, as it used to be, people playing state or Ranji Trophy or county cricket more. Like, for example, we had Viv Richards, we had Imran Khan the other day playing state cricket. More people playing county cricket. Nobody in Australia plays Ranji Trophy, do they?
No.
A lot of overseas. We do have a lot of overseas who play in England. To be fair, I reckon way more than Australia and India probably combined. Most counties, there's 18 counties, would have. I bet there's at least 10 to 15 Indian/Australians playing in our county system next season. Which I agree with you, Norman, but I think it then is a disadvantage to us that because of our county game is bigger, or the state system in Australia has 6 or 7 teams. We have 18 to 20. So for us to want to have better quality of cricket, we want the overseas guys to come in and enhance the game. But at the same time, I think India did it with Pujara Aussies did it with Wharton. We've got a Test match series in England next year. Let's go and you go over there and open the batting on those wickets for 6 months, and it's only going to benefit the overseas guys. So I don't blame Indians or the Australians for not allowing the English to go over and bat on these wickets, because ultimately down the line it's only going to advantage an overseas touring side, and I think that it helps. Look at Pujara when he came over here, I think a few years ago.
But then I would like to differ in this point, because with the IPL we see lot more players, overseas players, playing against the likes of the Indian bowlers, because that unknown factor is taken away, because these days the overseas players, they play a lot more in IPL, so they are facing the likes of Bumrah.
I'm not talking about IPL. I'm talking about.
No, I'm not talking about IPL. I'm not talking about IPL. I'm talking about, that's as Chris pointed out, that Indian players going and playing the county cricket. Similarly, the overseas players, I'm talking about the English cricketers or the South African or the Australian cricketers coming and playing in the IPL. They get to play with these cricketers for almost 2.5 months.
No, but okay.
I think what Norman means is the longer
I'm
format.
About
He's
Ranji
thinking
Trophy,
longer format.
State level competition, correct? It's
I think
not
Norman's
like
talking longer. Counts 4-day, 5-day cricket.
But BCCI don't allow BCCI don't allow the overseas cricketers to come and take part in the Ranji Trophy.
That's never happened. There've never been any overseas players in Ranji Trophy ever.
Yeah, there is one or two instances, but the normal policy is that they don't allow the overseas cricketers to come and take part in a Ranji Trophy.
That's a pity, in my opinion. That's a pity.
I think it strengthens the home game, doesn't it? There's and I don't know how many teams there are in the first class system in India, but compared to population size, compared to England, our population in the country is only 60 million. There's probably triple that who play cricket in India. So if you start allowing overseas players into the Indian first class game, you potentially aren't allowing all your homegrown talent the ability to play. Whereas in England, I think you have to try and strengthen the game because there isn't that much quality and depth at that level.
Yeah, I still think one player per team wouldn't be hurting anyone. But anyway, I just think that would actually benefit overseas players more than India. I agree with that. But I think it's something that would be a reasonable suggestion to put forward. I can't see why not. I wouldn't mean 3 or 4. One. In fact, in our state system in Australia, we're seeing very few. In fact, there is no one, I don't think, from overseas playing in the state teams as there used to be. Anyway, that's just my thoughts. We're all entitled to our opinion. Tabashas, you do look refreshed, I must say. There's something really going on with you. You look 10 years younger.
He's got a fire in the belly. To live faster, it's the race faster attitude, you see.
Yeah. So, all right, let's get back to today for a moment. What do you see happening? Tabashas.
Me? Obviously, India is going to win this test match, but maybe tomorrow today? By lunch. No, not today. Not today. I doubt. No. I think because they won't declare until and unless they get a lead of 400 plus, and at least they need to bat 2 sessions to go somewhere near close to 450 plus. Obviously, you have somewhere I think tomorrow by lunchtime we can see the match might get over by lunchtime tomorrow.
I agree. I think the best thing for the test match, not that it would matter, is for India to be at skittled for 120 and England chase 330 or something, because it probably gives England a 5% chance, similar in the last test to India chasing that. But
I'm skittled. Explain the word skittle. How are India going to be skittled today?
Well, I'm saying if they go from, I'm just on that wicket, I think that sides, you can easily bowl sides out quite cheaply. I'm clutching at straws. I don't think it's going to happen. I think India are going to win easily. But I'm saying the best thing for the test match as a cricket fan would be for India to be bowled out really quickly and really cheaply and set England a near on possible but not completely impossible target. If India set 450, England have 0% chance. If India set 330 because they get bowled out quickly, there's maybe 2% chance. So from a cricket perspective, at least the game still has other results possible. But DeBass is right. I think lunchtime tomorrow, India will have it wrapped up for sure.
All right. Well, someone's asking where is Monty. Well, he was here last night very late, and it was Valentine's Day, and he had several Valentine's cards to write, including mine. But he actually asked me where his flowers were from me, and I was a bit taken aback there. There was marriage proposals going on, everything, and you missed out on that, Tabasha. It was a lot of fun last night. We had a really good, and we had a lot of viewers too, as we do now. In fact, we're reaching a bit of a peak now, and I really appreciate guys coming on deck and talking to us. We've got questions coming out of our ears. Do you want to take one, Chris? Find a question you want to answer there.
Oh, I can have a look.
Terence Aldrin says, except for Kohli to score well today. I think that's a bit harsh. I think Kohli could easily get runs today because he's going to be free-minded, and so will all the Indian batters. Oh my gosh, Pant is always free-minded. He's going to be doubly free-minded today. He's going to be going for nuts.
Yeah, he's in good form, isn't he? I think that when he doesn't come off every time, I think that's when the pressure will be on his shoulders. I think when you're scoring runs and it's an easy game and he looks in imperious form, I think when he does it a couple of times and has a couple of low scores, which he might do, say in England, if it's seeming about, I think he's going to have to learn to adapt his game and play on those wickets. And the best players will do that, and I'm sure that he will. But no, he looks in imperious form, doesn't he?
Tabasha, I just need to ask a question. On Cricinfo or on cricket.com, the Australian version, we've got Patel with the name Akshar, Axshar, and in other platforms on his
Akshar.
But then I see
Akshar Patel.
AR.
I think it's a different name, Norman. I think they're different names. I don't think it's the same person.
On his shirt, he has AXAR. I saw that when he
AXAR.
That's his name. Yeah, that's how he spells his name.
But then in Quick Info, which I've got in front of me here, it's AKSHAR.
Is it the same player?
No, AXAR. It's obviously the same. The pronunciation is the same. Akshar Patel.
But there might be another first-class cricketer in India.
Why are we spelling it in two different manners? Okay, I've seen AXAR on his shirt, but a lot of platforms are putting AKSHAR.
I don't know. I also knew that it's AXAR because that is the name that he normally puts on during the IPL matches as well. So
anyway, I'm just making a point. I'm just saying that difference, and I just want to know if there was any reason for it. Okay.
I have a question.
It is a bit confusing as well.
For Tabasha, and I don't know if you know this, we had a conversation with Preeti last night where she said that the toss in India isn't hugely relevant always. And my question to her was, when was the last time, and you might know this, when was the last time that a toss was won in India in a test match and the side didn't bat first? When do you think? I don't know. And it'd be interesting to see when, because I mean, the last 50 tests, do you think they've all batted first? So, I mean, it just shows how key that can be and how good it is to bat first.
Toss to me in India is huge.
Yeah.
Toss to me in India is huge in deciding the fate of a test match. And that has been the case for years. You win a toss in India, bat first, score big, and it's eventually going to turn from day 3 onwards.
But in some cases,
it might turn from day 2. In some cases, it might turn from day 1.
So when do you think the last time that a side, India or an away side, won the toss and elected to bowl in India? When do you think? I can't remember that ever being. It must be a while.
I might have to come back once we are
really
on the podcast again after the day's play. I will find out definitely because I'm not having the statistics in front of me.
Yeah.
But there are only a handful. I would say only a handful of instances where overseas team coming into India, winning the toss and deciding to bowl first. Obviously, the one that comes to mind is I think South Africa did for once. They won the toss. Dale Steyn was in superb form. I think it was in Nagpur. It was in Nagpur when Rohit Sharma got injured. He missed out on the test match, and Riddhiman Saha made his debut. If I'm not wrong, so I think that one test match that I remember was South Africa winning the toss and electing to bowl first on a green, lively track in Nagpur. but very few instances, only a handful of instances. But normally the case is when you win a toss in India, be it the home captain or the visiting captain, they not eventually decide to bat first.
Yeah, and all my point was in the couple of comments. KO Rahul, I assume it might not be the KO Rahul said, why would anyone want to bowl first in Indian conditions? And my point is that if Preeti was saying that the toss is irrelevant, well, if the toss is irrelevant, then it shouldn't matter if you bowl or bat first, because it doesn't have a dictate on the game. Whereas if the last 100 tests in India, if 99 of them have the side of batted first and win the toss, that must have a role. They're doing it for a reason. If you look at the tosses in England, I reckon it will be more 50-50, 60-40 batting first, which shows that it's not quite so much of a feature. But no, it's interesting. Another guy commented and said, how would India, to come to England, how do they counteract James Anderson and Stuart Broad to be successful in India and in England? And it's a question that teams from the subcontinent, from Australia, from South Africa have been trying to work out for many years. You have to change your game, your technique. Someone like Rohit Sharma, who uses his hands and his eyes and doesn't move his feet as much, and goes at it quite hard. Virender Sehwag was another one, was one of the best ever. If I did a World Test 11 of people who I've watched in my lifetime, Virender Sehwag probably opens the batting, but overseas in England, he struggled because he didn't move his feet as much. And when the ball swings late, you go hard and you nick it. And so those guys have to work out a technique that they have to just play it later, move their feet to the ball more. And they're the most successful players, overseas players. If you look at who's done well in England, it's the guys that move their feet more and play late and don't go so hard at the ball early, because that's where the conditions suit the seam bowlers.
Let me talk. I'm going to say something. One easy way of stopping James Anderson and Stuart Broad, set an upper age limit of 36. They'd both be retired by now.
But why would you do that? Well, Stuart Broad's 34, 33, so they wouldn't be both retired. So, I mean, if you want to pull the facts out, Norman, let's get it right at least.
Well,
but the question
was about James Anderson, not Broad. So Anderson will be too old. No.
But James Anderson's still probably the best in the world. He's in terms of stats over the last 10 years anyway. So am I talking about stats? I'm talking about one way of stopping him. That's a way of stopping him. Oh yeah.
The question wasn't about him being able to play.
But no, it's going to be Dabas's.
I would like to point out to Chris is just come June, when India next travels to England to play the complete Test series. I think BCCI has done. It has got a lot of planning, because this time round they are going to play a practice match with the India A team, which will be in England during that time. So they are playing a practice match with India A team. So it's 4-day practice match. So these practice matches are very important. I remember the last time when India went to England and lost the series miserably. They played a practice match in Essex. Yeah. Essex was right. Alistair Cook plays for Essex.
Yes, yeah.
I think it was in which county? Essex is the county, but which place was it? Can you get me right, Chris?
Who sorry?
What was that ground? What was the ground? We used to travel from every day. We used to travel from. We used to take a train and come back. What is that ground?
The Oval?
No, not the Oval.
I'm not sure.
We're talking about
the county ground of Essex. Means they used to go regularly, but take a train and then come back.
Okay, guys, we might move on to that for the moment. We've got about 3 or 4 minutes about 4 or 5 minutes before the game starts. You said by tomorrow lunchtime the game will be over. India will win. Today,
I lost you, Norman. No, Dabassus, it's been a while Norman's cocked out. It's been one of my biggest bugbears in cricket for as many years as I can remember, is that you go, and England are as guilty as anyone with this, so I'm not pulling out. You play a warm-up game. Norman's actually at his best like this. Jeez, it's nice. You play a warm-up game in overseas conditions, and the overseas team put really poor sides out, and I don't think that's necessarily a good thing, and I understand why they do it, but I think there has to be some kind of remit to try and put a stronger side out to, to help the sides prepare properly, if that makes sense. Go back 15 years, England would have toured Australia and had 3 or 4 first-class games against state sides and had a proper warm-up. Now, England went to India or Sri Lanka, play a first-class game, and it's basically a second string or a bunch of school kids sometimes. They're pretty rubbish. And when India have come here, England do the same. The county sides, they don't play their full-strength sides. They
don't play the full-strength sides. Yes, absolutely. I totally agree. That is the reason they are playing the India A side.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I really do think that's a good idea, and I think that going forward, if sides are going to be reluctant to field a stronger side, because there's a lot of cricket being played, so they're trying to. It can be seen as an extra game that's not needed. But I agree with you. I think that's a really good thing, and I think that England did it in India. Or no, in Sri Lanka, England played an England side. They took 2 tides. So no, I think that's a good idea, and I ultimately I think that India are going to be. I think that it's harder for India to win in England than it is for India to win in Australia. I think given conditions and side makeup, I think that it's a bigger task for England to win for India to win in England. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think it's a lot more challenging for India to win in England rather than obviously in Australia. We know that the wickets are not that pacey and bouncy. With due respect to the Indian team, the last 2 overseas incredible overseas test series wins against Australia in Australia, but then the fact that India still have some work to do, work in hand to win a series in England, which has not been the case for quite some time. And I think the biggest challenge for India is the conditions in England. Obviously the wickets, the sims, the conditions, and to face someone like James Anderson and Stuart Broad in their own backyard is a quite an uphill task, I would say.
Yeah,
it's
going to be a big task for India, and I think that it's harsh to people say that if you look at the results from the last series, I think England won 4-1, and it flattered England a little bit because it was a closer series than it looked. But a couple of the tests are often quite flat in England. Once you get past that first hour, all the overheads aren't so bad. The wickets can be good cricket wickets, so I think England will win the series in England. I don't see, only purely because I think that the seam attacks are decent. India have got a decent seam attack.
And Chris, one more thing I would like to add. I would just like to add one more point is that the good thing about this and during this COVID era is that the teams can take lot many players with them. The touring party. Say you can take a lot more bowlers, net bowlers who are quality net bowlers who can give you a good practice to the batsman. So that is a good thing to have happened. You can take a bigger squads on an overseas tour, which was not the case. So maximum you could take is 16 or 17 players. But nowadays you can actually take 30 players with you, so that you have lot many net bowlers, lot many quality A bowlers, and the bowlers who play continuously and pushing their case for getting a knock at the senior team. So this is a good thing to have happened.
I agree with you.
Okay, this is Norman. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you're back, Norman.
Yeah, Norman. Okay. Yeah,
it's actually the most sense you've spoken for the last 10 minutes.
Has overheated. See my other phone? It overheated on me. So I just happened to your phone. Guys, it's time for game. It's game time, guys. You guys have again a wonderful conversation. I really appreciate your time. You guys have gone hammer and tongs, and I love it. You guys could talk for another hour and it'd be informative and interesting. Everybody's saying that, and you didn't see my commentary on the side but my phone, did you, or did you not?
I saw it. Everyone's saying that they prefer me and Debatis as hosts as well.
All right, guys, thanks, guys, very much. We'll let people go and watch the game. Watch Rohit Sharma get a 50, and we'll see how far he goes. Thanks to Debatis, Chris.
Thank you.
Guys stay online. Let's say goodbye to everybody. This is Eyes on Cricket with Norman Koshnick saying goodbye.
It was falling
Very
apart.
positive.